Howdy, howdy. So I'm about to post the first Collab Chat interview, which will be featuring Mark Harvey, the founder and winemaker of Open Range Wines. Our first culinary collaboration dinner is finally taking place for the 2025 series on June 20th at 7:30 p.m. There are still tickets available, not a ton, and they will sell out. So if you haven't got yours, now is the time. These events showcase what Stonewall is all about. It brings people together over great food, amazing drinks, and the products and people who make Colorado what it is. I'm recording this intro because I'm new to the content creator thing, and for some reason, the intro part of the interview is dead silent. I have no idea how I did that. Haven't been able to figure it out. So, please welcome Mark Harvey from Open Range Wines.
Excellent. All right. So we just got done talking about you being a shellfish farmer, which is, I mean, that's wild. So Open Range, you're here in Colorado. I know that you didn't use Colorado grapes the whole time. So tell me about that. Tell me like the process, what.
Yeah. Well, the difficulty in producing wine in Colorado is, of course, our late spring frosts and our early fall frosts, and sometimes very cold temperatures in the middle of the winter. And I started out with Colorado grapes, and then in the fall of 2020, we had a really strong frost, which basically wiped out a whole bunch of vineyards. And so I couldn't get any grapes, literally, in the spring of 2021. And I didn't want to miss a vintage, so I bought a bunch of fresh grapes from the state of Washington. They trucked them down with their refrigerated semis, and then I did 3 years of Washington wine, but I'm back to Colorado pretty much entirely now. I only missed 1 year doing Colorado wine, and because of the frost, and that's the nature of and the difficulty of doing wine in the state. Very tough frosts.
Yeah, and it's, like we work with a lot of Colorado wineries because like the way our concept is designed, 80% of our ingredients in the building we source from Colorado producers. So like I know like a lot of places, if you've got a Colorado product like a wine of your, like your nature, you're fighting for 1 or 2 spots on a wine list. And at our restaurant, if you're not from Colorado, you're fighting for 1 or 2 spots on the menu. So like we have a really great relationship and get to interact and meet with wineries all over Palisade and the Western Slope. And I think it's such an unfortunate situation that people aren't aware, because like the Book Cliffs and the Grand Mesa, they do so much for those grapes. I mean, they can only do so much because, as we all know, like here in Steamboat, I don't think I've ever seen a Halloween that doesn't have snow on the ground. So like in my birthday is June 11th, which is coming up, and in 2019, it snowed on my birthday. So it's like, I can only imagine the stress that goes into like grapes when you have situations that can like affect you in June that have snow. That's crazy. What's the earliest you've ever had snow come in, and what's the latest you've had it?
Down in Palisade?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I actually buy my grapes from a grower down there, and I think I've lived in a state long enough where I'm pretty familiar with the seasons down there, and I think it sometimes will snow as late as late May, and sometimes it'll snow as early as September. I think typically down there it's more like you'll get snows well into April, and they'll begin sometime in October. That's typical. But sometimes it's a month or a month later in the spring and a month earlier in the fall.
And when do you so with that being the case, when do you normally plant? When do you like, what is your annual timeline? Like when you're mapping out your calendar, what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, again, I buy my grapes from a grower down there, and I think for a vine to produce good grapes, it probably takes 3 years after planting them, and they'll probably last 20, 25 years. Although some people get fruit out of them longer than that. But that's kind of the timeline for how long a vine lasts. And harvest, it depends on the varietal. Some start in mid to late September, and some don't start until, you don't harvest them until sort of mid-October. For instance, Petit Verdot is a very late maturing grape. And, Malbec matures earlier. For my varietals, it's sort of a 3-week span between, even 2.5 weeks between when you, say get the Cabernet and then get the Cab Franc and then get the Petit Verdot. They're doing a lot of cold hardy grapes now in Palisade. By cold hardy, I mean they're specially bred to survive a frost, and those come out of the Midwest. They're not that well known. There's like Petit Pearl and Verona. It's beautiful wine, but people don't know it yet. They will get to know it because they're getting more and more popular.
And at some point, I'm going to convince them to let me give them a glass of something that they've never had before, because I love unique grapes. Like you and I were talking offline earlier, like there's a grape that comes out of Palisade, one of the wineries there. It's a Terroir that you just don't find anywhere. And I am obsessed with those kind of grapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also love like an old English claret, which people are always like surprised about, but I'm just like, like I can get a Cabernet everywhere. You can't pay me to drink a Pinot. I'm like,
well, that's what I've been discovering too as a consumer is, I like the blends more and more and more. And I think a claret is really a blend. And people tend to go for single grape varietals, but don't be afraid of the blends because there's some beautiful ones out there and often for very reasonable prices.
Oh, for sure. And blends, I find, it's like, so I always equate it to like dog breeds. Like, well, my dog is a purebred dog. But if you like think of what that means, it means that you're going to get all of these traits that are like associated with purebred dog. But to do that, they have to be purebred, which means you're also going to get all those traits that are not necessarily ideal. Like I'm a Great Dane lover. Chris and I had a Harlequin Great Dane. He was almost 14 years old. He passed away in August. And like with having him, like we knew from the very beginning, we needed to watch out for bloat, gastrointestinal issues, these skips, like all these things, because they're repeatedly bred in such a way that there's not a lot of diversity. And it finds like, yes, you can get a purebred lineage of grape and it's going to be great, but it's going to have those things that like have exacerbated over time because there's no diversity. Whereas the grains, you can work those things out.
Exactly.
As far as the varietals that you're using, so I know we carry the Malbec, the Petit Verdot, and the Red Blend. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's all 3 lines, right? Are there?
Well, with our Washington wine, we do a really nice Barbera. We do a really nice Cab Franc and a really nice Cab Sauv. With the Colorado, right now, that's what we have. We're going to introduce a white this fall, and it'll be probably it'll be a Viognier with a Sauvignon Blanc, and I haven't quite figured out exactly which one's going to dominate. We'll see what the grapes look like, but it'll be our first white, and I'm excited about that.
I mean, I love a red, but with the right, so like our rainbow trout dish, which I love, we do rip out the way it's supposed to be done. It is head on, tail on, skin on. It's whole fish. The right white makes that dish sing. So you said fall. What are we thinking? Like,
it's not coming out in the fall. It's gonna go into the barrels, in the fall. Got it. When do we see the tanks? When do we? No, that will be by Hansel Eater from a year from, it'll be a year from this fall, so 2026, fall of 2026.
Excellent. What's the barreling and aging process that works best for you, that you find you get the best wine out of?
Well, so with barrels, obviously brand new barrels will impart a lot more flavor, and brand new barrels are much more expensive. If you buy an American oak barrel, it's $500. For a French oak, it's $1,000. But I think it was the Americans who pioneered oak chains. So you can use a neutral barrel, a barrel that's been used 2 or 3 or 4 years in the supposedly neutral, but we can put these oak chains in there, and that imparts, the same flavor really, and it's much, much cheaper. I think that was an American invention. Ideally, if you have brand new barrels every year, I love French oak. I like American too. They give distinctly different flavors. But we don't beat you over the head with the oak, but we like a bit of oak in there. And we've been making wines that are fairly high pH. I think a pretty well balanced acidity. And we push the pH a bit. I think typically red wines 3.5, 3.6. We've been going up to 3.8, 3.9, that sort of thing. And I kind of like dry wines myself and fairly big body, but we try not to clobber you over the head with anything with the oak, or too big a body.
Well, and I think that's probably a wise decision. One of the things that I worry about is Gen Z. I mean, they're not drinkers. I mean, to be honest with you, they're not doing a lot of things that the rest of us have always done. Like, like intimate relations apparently are not a thing.
Dating?
Yeah. I'm like, man, what do you?
I know it sounds kind of quiet out there.
I know. I like, but hey, the alcohol thing, to be honest with you, I don't necessarily frown upon. Like,
yeah.
Great. But I think my concern on that front, especially for the wine industry, is wine sales worldwide have slowly and steadily declined year over year for a hot minute. And I think if we are going to have any effect on stabilizing that, we have to be able to get Gen Z to find enjoyment in wine. And I think one of the things that's going to require is something you're already doing, and that is middle of the road. Like, like we're not. I'm a cork dork. I can experience all kinds of wines and find joy in them, and I have tastes that are eclectic. I'm sure you have tastes that are eclectic, but that's not everybody. And if we're going to sell wine, it needs to be something that is approachable and it doesn't hit you over the head with anything. It needs to be like, I hate to say it needs to be one note, but like there needs to be like a middle line that we all sort of like start at and then like shift a little bit. What are your thoughts on the sales reduction continuing, and does that cause you concern? What do you think we should do?
Oh, it's a good question, and I don't want to be a pusher. If people don't want to drink that, I respect that. If it's health reasons or religion or whatever, I respect that. I think all we can do is try to put out a really good product, make it available at tastings. Our wines are very reasonably priced, so they're available. And on the macro picture, in terms of the whole big wine world, I don't have a good answer for that. I think there might be some cyclical nature to that. A lot of things, I'm in the cattle business, and that's very cyclical. So it might be cyclical. Who knows? Maybe Gen Z in their 30s or whatever will start enjoying wine again, or the generation after. But the big macro picture, it's a little above my pay grade. We just try to make really good wine. We try to make it available for a good price.
I can tell you, having carried your wine now for some time, you're hitting the mark on all of those, because like I routinely find myself talking to a guest, and I own a restaurant. Alcohol and wine especially is where the money's at, really. Like, some of the food that we sell I don't want to say we sell at a loss because we don't, but like profit margins can be tight. And like every restaurant, we look to the bar to make up for that. Well, and the pricing on your wine is impeccable for the guest for sure. I mean, doesn't always do me a lot of favors. Well, I have routinely found myself, I'm like, okay, so my 2 suggestions are going to be this bottle, which is $185 and it's amazing. And then, but because like, I'm in it to make a living, not in it to make a killing. Like if that makes sense. So like, oftentimes I'll be like, here's this bottle that's almost $200 that I think will go great with your dinner. That being said, this Petit Verdot, which is not near $200, is my favorite bottle on the list.
Well, that's good to hear. And if I can brag, our wines, just this, the 2023s, I think all 3 of them got over 90 points, and the Wine Enthusiast 91, 92, 90, somewhere in there. And the Washington wines, a couple of them got 94s and 93s. So, they're being reviewed very favorably. And it's, and Colorado wine has just come so far. I grew up in the state as you did. And I remember a few decades ago, it was almost undrinkable, the commercial stuff. And now it's getting really good.
Oh, I mean, you could cook with it. Bring that bad boy right into the kitchen. It's impeccable. We went in December to Palisade, which we do. We try to make it a point to go down a couple times a year, for a number of reasons. One of the big ones being that there are wineries down there that do not have a distributor that they work with. It's because they, for whatever reason, like a lot of the times it's just because they haven't got to that point in their life cycle. So we will go down, get an Airbnb, it's right there. Like last time we found ourselves staying across the road from Carboy.
Correct.
And what people don't realize is like, it's not like a wine trip to California or to the Willamette Valley. Like in those places, yes, there's a lot of wineries that are like together, but there's also space.
Yeah.
Covers a large area. Whereas in Palisade, if you want to go on a nice wine weekend, you can go to Palisade and you could hit every winery within.
Yeah, they're pretty close.
And like we go down and we will visit the different tasting rooms and we will source and like we'll buy on site. And last time I think we hauled back in my SUV something like 20 cases of wine, and I can't imagine what my car looked like going down the highway. 20 cases of wine in the back. But yeah, when people are like, "Oh, Colorado wine," I'm like, when was the last time you were in wine country? Because like, if it hasn't been recently, your mind will be blown.
No, it's really come a long ways, and there's a number of wineries just making excellent stuff, and it's getting noticed. There's more articles about it. They do a wine convention for the producers every year, technical convention, and the big boys out from California come out. The chemists, the barrel people, they're showing up because I think it's a hot item. Colorado wine. It's still quite small, but it's getting quite sophisticated, very professional, and there's just some really good producers.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's passion. Like if you're gonna go someplace like here in Colorado, where that there's a long running, I don't want to say stigma, but like predisposed.
Yeah,
bots. People go into it with the understanding that like it's subpar for whatever reason.
Exactly.
And I'm a firm believer, like if you, like yourself, you grew up here, you understand Colorado, you have a passion for wine. Obviously, you can taste it in every barrel that you make. It's a commitment to the industry and to the product to say, I'm going to go up against these obstacles that Colorado produces. But you've mentioned barrels a couple times. So question I have for you, because here in Colorado, if there's one thing that I've noticed, booze producers in Colorado love working with other booze producers in Colorado. So we have a number of wines that we get that are aged in like Breckenridge bourbon barrels. Or
Right.
what are your thoughts on those sort of cross collaborations? Do you think that they're worth it? Is it something that you think you'll ever do? Or do you think that it's more of a gimmick?
I've seen it in the stores and I've seen it advertised. It's never occurred to me just because I like the flavor that just straight oak imparts. Um, so I doubt if I'd try it. And I don't think I've tried enough wine that's been aged in these cross bourbon barrels, cross whiskey barrels, whatever. Um, I should try it some more. I just don't think I know enough about it to give you an intelligent answer.
I'm waiting for somebody to hit us with a white that's cross aged. I feel like, red it's a natural decision.
Yeah.
It's like I want somebody to find the right white to age with the right bourbon. Let's see what
Be interesting.
I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there because there's a lot of like notes that the bourbon could give the white that would be punchier.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Maybe I'll try one this fall.
Well, I mean, if you do, I get it. I'll send you a bottle. I get it by case.
Now, good.
Well, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're busy. We've got this really exciting culinary collab coming up, and a couple questions like in that world. You mentioned that it's important that you guys being wineries, make sure that people have opportunities to taste. Is there a tasting room?
I don't have one yet. Someday. So the tasting I've done has been at Food and Wine Fest. I've been involved or invited to be in the Aspen Food and Wine Fest. Coming up, this is the third year we'll be in it. I did the Snowmass Wine Fest last fall, which was a blast. I didn't even know about it, and I, grew up in the area, which it was really fun. They're both very successful, thousands of people. The Aspen one, of course, has sort of famous chefs and all that, and I really enjoyed them. And then, obviously when I go to restaurants and liquor stores to sell the wine, I pour it for those buyers. I don't have a tasting room yet. Someday, but I think what you mentioned, these tours around Palisade is a great way for people to experience Colorado wine, and what you're doing with your dinners is a great way for people to get introduced. I guarantee you this coming Friday when we do the event, there'll be people that have never tried Colorado wine, and that'll be great.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And
Yep.
I'll tell you, they will be. I can tell you from repeat encounters with this exact scenario. Every winery that has been our featured vendor has reported back online sales, like visits, because like we have our we call it our Frontier Fan Club. It's our loyalty program, which everybody has these days. Our Frontier Fan Club members get access to the tickets to these like a few days in advance of general public. And like last summer, because that's where we have like multiple to like lean on for data, like there were a number of them that did not make it to general public sales. Because we send out an email, we send out a text message, we do all those things and we have guests who have been to every single one. And truth is, like when it comes to tasting dinners, I have sort of lost some of my interest in them because they are a dime a dozen these days. And like, I think that it's great that restaurants do them. I think it's great that they bring in the winemaker. I think it's great that they introduce people to different varietals and different products. The problem that I have started to have is that they are so one note. Like, if you've been to one, you've been to all of them. And one of the things that like I have found like a turnoff is like it almost feels like a party circuit. Like you go to this event at this restaurant, and then you go to the same event at this restaurant, and you just like do it through the season. So it was when I realized like that one note, that commonality that like had made them feel more dull to me, less enticing, is when I was like, you know what we're gonna do, because I think they're dull and one note, we're gonna do one. And he told my husband, was like, you don't like going to them. You complain about how they're like all the same. I was like, no, we're not going to do this. I was like, it's gonna be different, because like what we're gonna do is our culinary collaboration dinners. They are not wine dinners. This one is focused on your wine because our guests love it. I love it. I drink it all the time. I thought people need to know about it. I think the quality is outstanding. But the next one we have, it's a bison ranch.
There you go.
Like,
there you go.
And the paired drinks with that will be cocktails. So it's like,
yeah.
And unlike a lot of other, when I say a lot of other, unlike every other one I've ever been to, it's not a plated 4-course dinner. It is a communal dining experience. We, in the country we're in today, everybody, the first thing anybody knows about the other person that they're talking to is who they voted for,
right,
how they feel about abortion. And I think that's crazy. That's crazy. Like,
gets old, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, so like at our dinners, like I said, I set people where I want them to sit, and they will have dinner with whoever I've chosen. They're going to have dinner with, and everybody has dinner together. And at the end, I get the same feedback all the time. Oh my gosh, I've lived 2 blocks away from this person forever. I've never met them. And, I see this person at the grocery store all the time. And then the thing that I love is when the next one rolls around and someone will buy, like somebody who bought 2 tickets to this one will buy 4. And there will be a note that says, met so-and-so and her husband at the last one. Could we sit side by side? And which is fine. But I'm like, I love that, like, when we here, they come back. So like ours, we rotate, like food, wine, liquor, and we just do it different. And the Memorial Day weekend one is the start of summer. Like, that's our kickoff. Like right now, we're open during the week because nobody got time to be throwing the money away like that. Like, we had a day right at the end of season where we had, the day before, we did $12,000 in sales. And the day after the flight stopped, we did 2 people, period. And I was like, no, we're not doing this. So we're super excited that you're coming. It's 7:30 dinner starts, 7:00 we open the bar for pre-dinner drinks, and then prepare yourself, because
I'm looking forward to it.
Our guests have no qualms with asking questions, and the fact that you're going to be sitting there having dinner with them, they're going to be very excited. I'm very excited. I know my husband's very excited. And if you wanted to share one thing with our guests as to where they could find you, like website, socials, what do you got for them?
Well, we have a website. It's openrangewines.com. And in Steamboat, I don't know if we have a liquor store yet. We're in Denver, we're in Boulder, we're in Breckenridge, Montrose, Delta. We're getting around the state, but it takes a little while. And we just got a distributor, Classic Beverage, who's been great, which you obviously use. And so I don't know if we're quite in a liquor store in Steamboat yet, but we will be soon. We do have an Instagram, and we need to be more active on social media, but we I think go to our website and openrangedwines.com, and hopefully in Steamboat we'll be selling it for retail as well soon.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to having you go in, and social media, it's a nut in the ass, but we all have to do it now.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
It's a beast that we have to tame. So I'm glad that you're helping me do that on our side. I hope this helps you, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday, man. It's great talking to you.
Thanks. Sure enjoyed it. Take care.
Have a great Friday.